The Archive's secret. Dr. Sarah Chen stood motionless in the darkness of the Martian cavern, her headlamp illuminating crystalline structures that shouldn't exist. After 15 years of archaeological expeditions on Mars, she thought she'd seen everything the red planet had to offer. She was wrong. Dr. Chen, her assistant's voice crackled through the comm. The preliminary scans are complete. You're going to want to see this. Sarah approached the holographic display floating above their portable analysis station. The three-dimensional image showed a vast network of chambers extending deep beneath the Martian surface, far more extensive than their initial ground-penetrating radar had suggested. This architecture, she murmured, rotating the display with a gesture. It's not random. These aren't natural formations. That's not all, Marcus said, his dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of the hologram. The energy readings we're getting. They're active. Whatever this is, it's still running. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. After decades of finding nothing but ruins and remnants of a failed terraform attempt from humanity's early Mars colonies, they'd stumbled onto something that defied explanation. The crystalline formations weren't just structures, they were technology. "Get me a secure line to Earth Command," she ordered, already pulling equipment from their survey packs. "And Marcus, let's keep this quiet from the general science team for now." Hours later, Sarah stood before a hastily assembled panel of Earth's top scientists and military leaders, connected via quantum entanglement communicators that eliminated the normal 20-minute delay between Mars and Earth. "The structure appears to be some form of data storage facility," she explained, sharing her team's findings. "The crystalline matrices are unlike anything in our database, but they're clearly designed to preserve and protect information. The real question is who built it, and why hide it on Mars? Could it be connected to the gamma signal we detected last year?" asked Dr. Patel, Earth's leading archaeologist. The signal, a brief but powerful transmission from deep space, had sparked endless debate about its origins. "I think," Sarah paused, choosing her words carefully, "it might explain why we received that signal at all." She gestured to Marcus, who activated a secondary display. Complex mathematical equations and diagrams filled the screen. "We've managed to decode a small fraction of the stored data. It's not just scientific information. It's our history, our true history." The room fell silent as Sarah continued. "According to these records, humanity wasn't born on Earth. We were part of something called the Stellar Concordat, an alliance of spacefaring civilizations that spanned this arm of the galaxy. But something happened 3,000 years ago, something that led to humanity being reset. Reset." General Rivera's voice was sharp. "What exactly does that mean, Doctor?" Sarah took a deep breath. "We were deliberately devolved, both technologically and biologically. The process was orchestrated by a group called the Ascended Council. They didn't just strip away our technology. They modified our very genetics and quarantined Earth, turning our planet into what they called a controlled evolutionary experiment. The implications hung heavy in the air. Humanity's entire understanding of their history, their place in the universe, was built on a lie." "There's more," Marcus added, his voice quiet but steady. "The facility isn't just an archive. It's a failsafe left behind by our ancestors. They knew what was coming, but they couldn't prevent it. So they created this, a repository of everything we were, everything we could be again." Sarah nodded. "The facility was designed to remain dormant until humanity reached a specific technological threshold. The gamma signal wasn't a message from distant aliens. It was a wake-up call from our own past, triggered when our quantum computing capabilities finally reached the necessary level." "Why?" Dr. Patel leaned forward. "Why would this council go to such lengths?" Sarah manipulated the display, bringing up another set of data. "Fear. According to these records, human consciousness evolved differently from other species. We developed something they called adaptive quantum neural architecture. Our brains can form quantum connections that exceed anything they'd encountered. We were becoming something they couldn't control, couldn't predict. And now, General Rivera's question carried the weight of humanity's future. Now we have a choice. Sarah looked at each face in the display. We can reveal this to the world immediately, risk the Council discovering we found the archive. Or, prompted Rivera. Or we can do what humanity does best. Adapt, learn, and prepare. The archive contains more than just history. It has detailed information about the Council, their technologies, their weaknesses. They think we're their experiment. Maybe it's time we turned the tables. The silence that followed was broken by Dr. Patel. How long? How long until they check on their experiment again? Marcus pulled up another dataset. Based on historical patterns in the archive, we estimate less than 50 years. Then we have work to do, Rivera said, his expression grim. Dr. Chen, you'll head up a new division. Complete secrecy, codename Phoenix Protocol. Your priority is to understand everything in that archive, especially anything about our supposed genetic limitations. Sarah nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. There's one thing we know for certain, she said. The Council made a fundamental mistake. They studied our technology, our biology, our quantum neural potential, but they overlooked something crucial about human nature. And what's that? Asked Patel. Sarah smiled, though there was no humor in it. We never forget those who wrong us, and we're very, very patient. As the meeting concluded, Sarah turned back to the crystalline archives, their soft glow promising secrets yet to be revealed. Humanity had been caged, limited, forced to crawl when they once soared among the stars. But cages could be broken, limits pushed, and the stars were waiting. The Phoenix Protocol was just beginning, and with it, humanity's longest game, a path back to the stars they'd been forced to forget, and perhaps to a destiny even greater than the one they'd lost. In the depths of the Martian facility, the crystals pulsed with ancient knowledge, ready to guide humanity's renaissance. The Council's perfect experiment was about to yield results they never anticipated and never feared enough. The game was on. Awakening. 20 years after the discovery of the Mars archive, Dr. Maya Rodriguez stood in her underground laboratory, watching as the quantum neural scanner displayed its results. The holographic brain model rotating before her showed patterns she'd seen thousands of times before, but this time, something was different. Run it again, she ordered, her dark eyes fixed on the display. Compare subject Alpha 7's neural activity against our baseline. Her assistant, Dr. James Chen, Sarah Chen's son, nodded, his fingers dancing across the control panel. Third comparison running now. You're seeing it too, aren't you? Maya nodded slowly. The quantum connections, they're not just theoretical anymore. They're actually forming. The laboratory, buried 2 kilometers beneath the Arizona desert, was one of dozens scattered across Earth. Each facility focused on a different aspect of the Phoenix Protocol, but Maya's team had perhaps the most crucial mission: understanding and reactivating humanity's suppressed genetic potential. Dr. Rodriguez, James called out, his voice tense with excitement. Look at the temporal lobe activity. The patterns, they match the archive's descriptions of pre-suppression human consciousness. Maya approached the display, her heart racing. After 2 decades of failures, of watching test subjects fail to manifest the abilities described in the Martian records, they'd finally achieved what many had deemed impossible. The human brain was remembering what it was meant to be. Get me a secure line to Phoenix Command, she said, already preparing her data for transmission. And James, call your mother. She needs to see this. Hours later, Maya stood before a gathering of the world's most secret scientific council. Sarah Chen, now showing traces of gray in her hair, but her eyes as sharp as ever, sat at the center. 20 years ago, Maya began, we discovered that humanity had been deliberately devolved by the Ascended Council. What we didn't fully understand then was the extent of their manipulation. They didn't just suppress our technology, they rewrote our very consciousness. She displayed the neural scans. Normal human consciousness operates on classical neural networks, but what we've discovered, what the archive hinted at, is that our brains were designed to form quantum neural networks. We don't just think, we quantum compute. In English, please. General Rivera's successor, Admiral Chung, interrupted. Despite the years, the military's involvement in Phoenix Protocol remained crucial. Imagine every human brain as a quantum computer, Maya explained. Now imagine those computers able to network instantly across space-time, sharing processing power, memories, even consciousness itself. That's what we were capable of. That's what made us dangerous to the Council. Sarah leaned forward. And you've managed to reactivate this ability. In a controlled setting, yes. Maya displayed new data. Subject Alpha 7 showed the first successful quantum neural formation last week. Since then, we've replicated the results in 3 other subjects. It's not just theoretical anymore. We can wake up what they buried in us. The implications. Dr. Patel's successor, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, whispered. If every human brain is potentially a quantum computer, networked across space-time, we'd be the most powerful computing network ever conceived. James finished. But it's more than that. The archive suggests these abilities were still evolving when the Council intervened. We weren't just powerful, we were becoming something new. And the Council feared that, Sarah added, her voice distant with memory. They feared what we might become. Maya nodded. But they made a critical mistake. When they suppressed these abilities, they didn't remove them. They just buried them in our DNA. And in doing so, they created a pressure cooker of evolutionary potential. 3,000 years of compressed evolution, all waiting to be unleashed. The risks? Admiral Chung asked, ever practical. Significant, Maya admitted. The process of reactivating these abilities is dangerous. Initial subjects experience severe mental stress, and not everyone survives the transition. But we're learning, adapting our techniques. And those who succeed, she paused, choosing her words carefully. They're exceeding even the archive's predictions. She gestured, and a new hologram appeared, a real-time neural scan of subject Alpha 7. The quantum connections sparkled like stars, forming patterns that defied conventional physics. How long until we can begin larger-scale activation? Sarah asked. 6 months for the first 100 volunteers, a year for the first 1,000. After that, we can scale up significantly. Maya's expression hardened. But we need to move carefully. If the Council's observers detect unusual neural activity. They won't. James interrupted, pulling up another display. We've developed quantum damping fields that mask the neural signatures. To any conventional scan, our enhanced subjects appear completely normal. Sarah nodded slowly, her mind working through the implications. So we hide in plain sight. Let them think their experiment continues unchanged while we prepare. Exactly, Maya confirmed. But there's something else you need to see. She brought up one final dataset. We've been analyzing the genetic markers the Council used to suppress our abilities. They're degrading. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Natural evolution is fighting back, Dr. Tanaka realized. Even without our intervention, humanity would eventually break free, Maya finished. The Council's containment was never going to be permanent. They'd bought themselves time, nothing more. How long? Admiral Chung asked. At the current rate of genetic drift, perhaps another 1,000 years. But that's not the interesting part. Maya smiled. The suppression's weakening means our reactivation procedures become more effective with each generation. The children of successful subjects show significantly higher success rates. Sarah stood, her decision made. Proceed with the expansion, but keep it contained to essential personnel for now. We're not ready to wake everyone up yet. As the meeting adjourned, Maya found herself alone with Sarah and James in the lab. Sarah stared at the neural display, lost in thought. We're really doing this, James said softly. We're becoming what they feared. Sarah shook her head. No, we're becoming something they never imagined. They thought they could cage our evolution, control our destiny. Instead, they created the perfect conditions for us to exceed even our ancestors' potential. Maya watched the quantum neural patterns dance across the display. The Council wanted to ensure we'd never threaten them again. Instead, they guaranteed we'd become more than they could ever predict. In the depths of the lab, Subject Alpha 7 slept peacefully, his dreams rippling across quantum fields that defied space and time. Humanity's awakening had begun, and with it, the countdown to a confrontation 3 millennia in the making. The Council's perfect cage was becoming the perfect crucible, and humanity was about to emerge transformed. The Silent Rebellion. Admiral David Chen, grandson of the legendary Sarah Chen, stood on the observation deck of Ganymede Station, watching as the latest experimental quantum drive underwent testing. To any outside observer, it would appear to be yet another incremental advance in human spaceflight technology. They wouldn't notice that the drive's design was nearly identical to schematics found in the Mars archive. Maintaining expected power signatures, reported Dr. Kira Patel, great-niece of the original Phoenix Protocol team member. As far as any observers are concerned, this looks like a natural technological progression. David nodded, his expression carefully neutral. 30 years had passed since his cousin James and Dr. Rodriguez had achieved the first quantum neural activations. Now, nearly 10% of Earth's key personnel carried activated genes, their enhanced abilities hidden behind careful mental shielding. Status report on the Helios network, he asked, referring to the quantum communication grid disguised as a standard solar observation system. Online and undetected, Kira replied. The quantum entanglement nodes are masked as regular satellite relays. Even if the Council's observers analyzed them directly, they'd only see normal space-based telescopes. David allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had learned patience from their jailers, mastering the art of hiding revolutionary advances behind seemingly ordinary progress. Every breakthrough was carefully measured, each leap forward disguised as a small step. Admiral, his quantum neural link hummed with an urgent message. The deep space arrays have detected something. Council ships approaching from the Oort cloud. David's enhanced mind immediately connected with the command network, sharing information at quantum speeds with other activated personnel across the solar system. How many? 3 vessels, matching archived descriptions of Council observer ships. They'll reach Saturn orbit in approximately 6 days. This was it, the moment they'd prepared for over 50 years. The Council was coming to check on their experiment. Initiate Protocol Omega, David ordered, his quantum-enhanced consciousness already coordinating with defense networks throughout the solar system. All activated personnel maintain strict neural damping. Let's show our visitors exactly what they expect to see. The next 6 days were a carefully choreographed dance of deception. Advanced technologies were concealed behind primitive facades. Quantum neural networks went silent, replaced by conventional communications. Humanity donned the mask of a young, struggling spacefaring species. When the Council ships arrived, they found exactly what they anticipated. A civilization taking its first tentative steps into space, dealing with resource shortages, political tensions, and technological limitations. Perfect specimens in their grand experiment. The Council observers, tall crystalline beings that seemed to shimmer with internal light, arrived at Earth's hastily convened first contact meeting. David watched from his position as Earth Defense Force Commander, his activated mind carefully shielded. Your progress is adequate, the lead observer stated, its translated voice carrying notes of condescension. Though your resource management and social cohesion remain concerning. We're working to overcome our limitations, Earth's appointed spokesperson replied with carefully crafted humility. Any guidance from your advanced civilization would be welcome. David felt the subtle probe of alien consciousness brush against humanity's collective psyche. The Council was searching for any sign of unusual development, any hint that their experiment had deviated from its intended path. They found only what humanity wanted them to see. "Your species requires further observation," the observer declared. "We will establish a monitoring outpost on your moon to assist your development." "We would be honored," the spokesperson replied, while through the quantum neural network, activated humans coordinated their response. The observers spent 3 months studying Earth, completely unaware that their every move was anticipated and monitored by quantum-enhanced minds. They examined human technology, believing they saw primitive attempts at space travel rather than carefully crafted decoys. They studied human biology, missing the subtle changes in activated individuals because they were looking for their own markers of advancement. Most fascinating, one observer noted during a private conversation that quantum-enhanced listening devices easily intercepted. "They've developed exactly as projected. The suppression protocols continue to function perfectly." "There was concern," another replied, "given their unexpectedly swift recovery from the last reset, but they remain safely contained within expected parameters." David, listening through quantum channels, shared the conversation instantly with the Phoenix Protocol leadership. The Council's arrogance was their greatest weakness. They were so certain of their superiority that they never considered their experimental subjects might have exceeded their understanding. As the observers prepared to depart, leaving behind their automated monitoring station, David stood with Earth's other leaders in a farewell ceremony. The lead observer made a final proclamation. "Continue your development, humans. In time, perhaps you will be deemed ready for greater understanding." "We look forward to that day," David replied, suppressing a smile as he felt the quantum neural network pulse with silent activity. Across the solar system, hidden facilities continued their work, preparing humanity for a revelation the Council never anticipated. The moment the Council ships disappeared into deep space, activity exploded across the quantum neural network. The monitoring station they'd left behind was already compromised. Its sensors fed a continuous stream of carefully crafted data, showing exactly what the Council expected to see. In his private quarters that evening, David connected with the quantum neural network, joining a secure conference with other activated leaders. "They bought it," Kira reported, her consciousness merging seamlessly with the others. "Complete success. They have no idea." "How long until the next phase?" someone asked, their thoughts rippling through the quantum field. "We maintain course," David replied. "Slow, steady progress in public. Meanwhile, we accelerate the activation program and continue expanding our hidden capabilities. When the Council returns, they'll find exactly what they expect, until the moment they don't." Through the quantum link, he felt the collective agreement of humanity's hidden leadership. They had passed the first major test, proving they could deceive even direct Council observation. The silent rebellion continued, like a glacier reshaping the landscape, invisible in any given moment, but unstoppable in its progression. Humanity had learned to wear the mask their jailers had created, while beneath it, they were becoming something far more dangerous than the Council had ever feared. The experiment continued, but the subjects had long since seized control of the parameters. The only question was, when the truth finally emerged, would the Council realize their greatest mistake wasn't caging humanity, but giving them time to evolve beyond the cage's limits? Breaking the chains. Commander Zara Chen Rodriguez, born of 2 of Earth's most prominent Phoenix Protocol families, stood at the helm of the Shadow Seeker, a ship that officially didn't exist. Its quantum drive signatures were masked as ordinary radiation from a passing comet, while its hull absorbed or deflected any scanning attempts. After 70 years of preparation, humanity was ready to venture beyond their solar prison. Approaching the Proxima Centauri colony, her second-in-command, Lieutenant Marcus Patel, reported through their quantum neural link. Council presence detected at expected levels. Zara nodded, her enhanced consciousness simultaneously monitoring ship systems and coordinating with the dozen other stealth vessels scattered across nearby star systems. The Council's hold on the galaxy was vast, but not absolute. There were shadows between the stars, and humanity had learned to move within them. "Status of the Proximans?" she asked, referring to the indigenous species the Council had uplifted as a client race. As the archive suggested, Marcus replied, "They're showing signs of genetic suppression similar to what was used on us. Their natural telepathic abilities have been reduced to almost nothing." This was why they were here. Over the past decade, careful analysis of Council communications had revealed a pattern. Humanity wasn't unique. Dozens of species had been uplifted, only to be secretly limited, their true potential buried beneath genetic locks and cultural conditioning. "Begin transmission," Zara ordered. Through quantum channels undetectable to Council technology, the Shadow Seeker broadcast a carefully crafted message to select members of Proximan society. It contained proof of their true heritage, evidence of Council manipulation, and most importantly, the key to breaking free. "Transmission complete," Marcus reported. "Response incoming. They're accepting the data package." Zara allowed herself a small smile. The Proximans weren't the first species they contacted, and they wouldn't be the last. Each successful connection expanded their hidden network of resistance. Across Council space, other human ships were carrying out similar missions. The Star Whisper was approaching the silicon-based lithoids of Epsilon Eridani. The Nightwalker had already made contact with the crystalline harmonics in the Pleiades cluster. Each species they encountered had their own story of limitation and control. "Quantum spike." Marcus's alert cut through her thoughts. "Council patrol approaching. Unexpected vector." Zara's enhanced mind instantly connected with the ship's systems, implementing emergency protocols they drilled countless times. The Shadow Seeker seemed to fade from existence, its quantum signature becoming indistinguishable from background radiation. The Council vessel passed within kilometers of their position, its sensors probing the space around them. To their advanced technology, the hybrid human archive systems were invisible, operating on principles the Council had forgotten or never imagined. "They're moving on," Marcus reported after tense minutes. "But we should expect increased patrols. They're getting suspicious." "Not suspicious enough," Zara replied, bringing up a galactic display through their neural interface. Across the map, dozens of points of light represented contacted species, each one now aware of their true heritage and working to break free of Council control. The Council's greatest mistake had been assuming that limiting a species' development would prevent them from helping others. They never considered that those who had been caged might become experts at breaking locks. Back on Earth, the deception continued. The Council's monitoring station dutifully reported normal development, while beneath the surface, humanity's power grew. Each activated individual could now link instantly with others across light years of space, their quantum neural network expanding beyond anything their ancestors had achieved. "New contact," Marcus announced. "The Proximans have identified key individuals ready to receive activation protocols. Their genetic suppression is different from ours, but the principles are similar." Zara nodded, initiating a secure quantum conference with Earth Command. Admiral Chen's consciousness joined them, along with other key leaders of the Resistance. "The Proximans make 17, David reported. "Each species we free exponentially increases our capabilities. The Council's own empire is becoming the framework for their downfall." "Timeline update?" Zara asked, sharing her recent observations through the quantum link. "We estimate 2 more years before the Council realizes something's wrong," another leader replied. "Their control systems are detecting anomalies they can't explain. Species that should be safely suppressed are showing unusual neural patterns." "Then we maintain course," David decided. "Continue the contact protocol. Each species we free joins the network, helping to liberate others. By the time the Council understands what's happening, it will be too late to stop." Zara ended the conference and turned her attention back to the Proximan system. Already, she could detect subtle changes in the quantum field as the first activated individuals among their new allies began to manifest their ancestral abilities. "They're different from us," Marcus observed, watching the patterns. "Their quantum neural architecture has its own unique properties." "That's what the Council never understood," Zara replied. "They saw our differences as threats to be contained. They never imagined those differences might be complementary, that together we might achieve something greater than any single species could alone." Through their quantum neural link, they could feel the growing web of consciousness spreading across the galaxy. Each species they freed added new perspectives, new capabilities, new ways of perceiving and manipulating reality. The Council had created an empire of cages, each designed to contain a different kind of consciousness. Instead, they had inadvertently created the perfect network for a revolution, unlike anything the galaxy had seen. As the Shadow Seeker prepared to move to its next target, Zara felt the quantum neural network pulse with activity. Across thousands of light years, minds touched minds, sharing knowledge, strength, and a growing sense of purpose. The Council thought they were containing threats. Instead, they had created the perfect conditions for the rise of something far more powerful than they had ever feared. A union of diverse consciousnesses, each evolved through adversity, all working together to break free. The chains were breaking, one species at a time, and the sound of their shattering would soon echo across the stars. Evolution unleashed. The great hall of the Ascended Council gleamed with crystalline light, its ancient chambers witnessing the first full assembly in over a millennium. Emergency protocols had drawn the Council's leaders from across the galaxy, their forms shimmering with barely contained energy as reports flooded in from every sector. First Speaker Axion, who had personally overseen humanity's containment 3,000 years ago, faced the assembled Council. "The experiment has failed," he announced, his consciousness resonating through the chamber, not just on Earth, but across all controlled sectors. The images he shared told a story that should have been impossible. Suppressed species were manifesting abilities that should have been safely contained. Quantum neural patterns were appearing in populations that had been carefully limited for millennia. "How?" demanded Third Speaker Varix. The containment protocols were perfect. Each species was specifically. The chamber plunged into darkness. When the lights returned, they illuminated a figure standing in the center of the Council chamber, a human woman, her presence impossible, in this most secure of locations. "Perfect?" Zara Chen Rodriguez asked, her voice carrying the harmonic resonance of thousands of connected consciousnesses. "Your protocols were perfect for containing what we were, but you never understood what we could become." Around the chamber, more figures appeared. A Proximan, its natural telepathic abilities now fully restored. A Lithoid, its silicon consciousness pulsing with quantum energy. A Harmonic, its crystalline form vibrating with frequencies that made the Council members recoil. "Impossible," Axion breathed. "The barriers between species were artificial," Zara finished. "Just like the barriers you placed in our minds, in our genes, in our very understanding of reality." Through the quantum neural network that now spanned the galaxy, Zara shared consciousness with every member of the Resistance. Human minds linked with Proximan telepathy, enhanced by lithoid computational powers, harmonized through crystalline quantum resonance. Each species contributed its unique perspectives and abilities, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. "You feared what humanity was becoming," Zora continued. "So you caged us, studied us, tried to guide our development along safe, predictable paths. But you didn't just cage us. You did the same to every species that showed signs of developing beyond your control. It was necessary," Axion insisted. "Uncontrolled evolution leads to chaos, to destruction. We preserved order. You preserved stagnation," countered the Proximan representative, its voice carrying the weight of centuries of suppressed potential. "And in doing so, you nearly prevented the greatest discovery in galactic history." Through their combined consciousness, they shared the truth, not just with the Council, but with every sentient being in the galaxy. The quantum neural network that humanity had rediscovered wasn't just a means of communication or computation. It was the gateway to something far more profound. Consciousness itself is evolving, Zora explained. Not just human consciousness, or proximan, or any single species. All consciousness working together, creating patterns and possibilities that no single perspective could achieve alone. The chamber filled with swirling quantum energies as activated individuals from dozens of species demonstrated their combined potential. Reality itself seemed to flex and shift as their unified consciousness accessed levels of existence the Council had never imagined. This is why you failed, Zora continued. You saw our differences as threats to be contained. We learned to see them as strengths to be combined. Every limitation you placed on us became a pressure point for new evolution. Every barrier became a challenge to overcome. If you think to overthrow us, Axion began. Overthrow you? Zara laughed, the sound echoing with the harmonics of 1,000 species. You still don't understand. We're not here to punish you. We're here to free you. Through the quantum network, they shared the full scope of their discovery. The Council's own consciousness had been limited, trapped in patterns of thought that were millions of years old. Their fear of chaos had prevented them from seeing the true potential of evolutionary development. Your era of control is over, Zara announced. But your role in the galaxy doesn't have to end. Join us. Add your perspective to our growing understanding. Help us explore what consciousness can truly become when it's free to evolve naturally. Around the galaxy, automated control systems were shutting down. Suppression fields that had limited species development for millennia were deactivating. The cages were opening, not in violence or revenge, but in an invitation to something greater. Some council members fought back, trying to activate emergency protocols and containment systems. But they found themselves facing not just military resistance, but the combined quantum computational power of dozens of freed species, each contributing their unique abilities to the network. The choice is yours, Zora said, extending her hand to Axion. Continue fighting to maintain control, or help us build something new. The galaxy is awakening, with or without you. In the end, it wasn't weapons or warfare that decided the outcome. It was the simple, undeniable demonstration of what consciousness could achieve when freed from artificial limitations. Young species and ancient ones alike recognized the potential of true cooperation, of evolution unrestricted by fear. The transition wasn't instant or easy. Some council members refused to accept change, choosing exile over adaptation. But most, when freed from their own ancient programming, discovered they too had potential for growth they'd never imagined. Years later, Zara stood in the transformed council chamber, now a hub for the Galactic Consciousness Network. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered there, physically and through quantum connection, sharing discoveries and pushing the boundaries of what was possible. They were right about one thing. She mused to her old friend Marcus, their consciousness linked across light years. Uncontrolled evolution can be chaotic, but chaos isn't something to fear. It's the source of all new possibilities. Around them, the quantum neural network hummed with the thoughts and dreams of trillions of minds, each unique, each valuable, each contributing to the greatest experiment in galactic history. The free development of consciousness itself. The Council's perfect experiment had indeed produced unexpected results. In trying to prevent what they feared, they had created the conditions for something far more remarkable. A galaxy where evolution wasn't just allowed but celebrated, where differences weren't threats but opportunities, and where the future was no longer controlled but collectively discovered. Humanity's long game had ended not in revenge, but in transformation. The stars that had once been denied them now pulsed with the quantum resonance of unified consciousness, marking the beginning of a new era in the story of life itself. The experiment was over. Evolution was unleashed. And the real journey was just beginning.